Whine said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and expecting a different result. In his work as an organizational behavioral consultant, Scott continually hears executives and leaders lament as to how they are stumped because they feel stuck on a hamster wheel of change and where they never get anywhere but expend copious amounts of energy running as fast as possible. All the while, they keep repeating the same behaviors and just see the relationship between their strategy and the results. This phenomenon is not limited to organizations. People have the same tendency to keep repeating history just because it's comfortable. This morning, Scott would like to change you to look at your relationships to see where your relationships might be a little insane. Scott Brown.
Are you a wine connoisseur? Read one again. Kathy gets all the best assignments. Nobody will do what they want. Come on, you guys gotta follow me. Let's go, come on, I hate this. I'll solve all your problems for you. Just give them to me. How many people in this room know someone that takes on everyone else's problems? If you whine loud enough and long enough in your life, I bet you know somebody that you can hand your problem to. Here, it's not mine anymore, you can take it. And they will gladly accept your challenge to solve their life issue for you. Sound like anybody in this room? I see some heads nodding. Yeah? If you're a wine connoisseur, aren't you just enabling somebody else to not take responsibility for their own life? Aren't you just saying, give me your problems, I will solve them, and then when I don't solve them the way you want them, you can blame me. Thus perpetuating the problem of not taking responsibility in the first place. And you might think that it's something that happens just with individuals, or just in those individual homes where they haven't quite figured out how to do things the right way. Because we all know the right way would be to just push that back to them. But in reality, we all have the tendency to take on other people's issues, to try to hold them and fix them. And you know what it gives us in the end? A 3-day headache. See, at some point, you can only handle so much. At some point, you then stop to realize, wow, I have all this burden on me. I walk with my shoulders slumped over. My head hurts. I'm glossy-eyed. Oh, I'm miserable. And why are you so miserable? It's completely of your own doing. Maybe it's because Fareed hasn't set the rules for what shoes should be. Perhaps Fareed needs to be a little more bendable, flexible in his approach to life. Perhaps Thomasina needs to give more information. We all have the ability to help others solve problems, but we need to push those problems back on other people. Supportive relationships help individuals solve their own problems. Dependent relationships ensure that you want to solve the problems for them. Which one are you going to pursue in the future? If you're going to continue to pursue those dependent relationships, guess what? People are going to keep piling stuff onto you. There is no limit to how many people are out there that are willing to give you stuff for them to solve. They'll give you personal problems, they'll give you professional problems, they'll give you religious problems, they'll give you the world's problems. And as long as you take them, they'll be willing to give them to you. Until you stop and say, no more. No more problems. What is it that you want to do with your situation? The greatest way to push back on someone else's issue is the Socratic method. When somebody asks you a question and wants to give you their problem, ask them, So what do you want to do with that? What's your point? What's your idea? What do you think is best? Very powerful when you push that back to someone else. It's so easy to say, well, I think you should. Well, who cares what you think? You're not in their life. They only want you to do that so they don't have to take responsibility. But when you start to push back and say, what do you want to do? Why do you want to do that? What do you think the result will be? How do we go forward with that? What's the first step? All of a sudden, those problems are no longer yours to own. They're now back to the person who owned them originally. In Toastmasters, we have the opportunity to learn how to ask questions, to actively listen, to push back where appropriate, and to take ownership where appropriate. We can always stand up here and pontificate over what we think is the greatest thing in the world. But perhaps the greatest lesson that we can learn from being a Toastmaster isn't about how to speak, but it's about how to listen. How to listen and then use that tendency that we have developed of being able to phrase our ideas in a way to help others. You can continue down the same path you have always continued down, taking on everyone else's issues, everyone else's challenges, juggling a million balls in the air, trying to figure out how am I going to keep all this going, knowing that at any minute you're just one stumble away from the whole thing collapsing. Or you can use what you learn in Toastmasters to help push back, develop people, empower people, enlighten people. Gandhi once said, be the change you want to see in the world. If you want others to take responsibility, if you want others to grow, allow them to. Model the way for them to be able to become the best that they can be by listening, and instead of answering, asking. And in that way, you can stop being a wine connoisseur. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you.